of stuff that we do that most people don't realize. You don't know what to do? It's give it to the fire department.
You've arrived at the Mental Health Spotlight podcast with therapist Kais.
Well, welcome, Kevin. I think we've talked for 40 minutes before we even started, which is kind of funny. But we're going to act like this is our first introduction.
Okay.
And we haven't known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
But we have. So thank you for coming in. You and I saw each other in a grocery store, and we started talking about mental health, which we don't usually do. And that got us to bringing up this whole conversation that's so relevant to you. So I appreciate you being willing to come in and talk about it.
Anything I can do to help someone in my position or anyone that just anybody. They don't have to go through pain and suffering. I mean, that's kind of the crazy thing. When we go through this, you don't think at any point in your life you would be a dad, a husband, and be in a position of just the trauma that comes with the PTSD or anxiety, depression, anything like that. So if I can help anybody, I don't care if it's one person, I'll give my time to do it.
Oh, and I can tell you need it because you were right there. You're like, you know what? I think I'm going to go right to how tough this is. And
I was close.
You did not delay. And I knew when I heard the first sigh, you're like, and your whole body sunk, and you said, okay. Because you are in process right now of working on this yourself. So
Yes.
This is a really relevant time to talk to others because it's real to you, but also you're working through it, I assume.
Yes.
Which makes it important. Can you tell us a little bit about your history as, I guess, mainly in your profession? Because I think that's what we're going to hit on the most. But anything you think about you as a person, maybe what you did in fifth grade art. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe more so. Who are you? What's your profession?
My name's Kevin Shea, 54. I've been in the fire service since 1993. I started off with a couple part-time jobs and then became full-time in Euclid. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. I went away to school. I was in college, bored, came back from college, was at Lakeland walking down the hall, and this guy that was a Beechwood fireman was running the program there. He said, hey, you want to be a fireman? I'm like, well, I got to do something. Well, honestly, that's really how I got into it.
So it wasn't necessarily a passion. It was more this makes sense.
It just makes sense. It's like, well, it's better than intro to business, intro to psychology. So it just was one of those things, and I got into it. And then Chief that was in Lyndhurst at the time was very good friends with my parents. He helped me out get into fire school, and it just kept going from there. And it felt right. It felt like that was what I need to do. I wasn't meant to be in an office. Okay. Freedom and
the exact opposite of the office in a way, right? I mean, you're on the go.
We're on the go. But the crazy thing is we're always in class. A lot of us, a lot of fire, it's like, oh, I was so bad in school. We joke about how bad a lot of us were in school, but then we're always back in class because of continuing education. Yeah. Things are always changing. Medications are always changing.
And you said medication, and I'm not sure if we clarified this. So your role is you also have the medical background as a paramedic, right?
Correct.
And they're hybrid?
Yeah, they're hybrid. So most of the cities locally are hybrid. You're a firefighter and you're a paramedic.
Okay.
So there's no difference. We're all there. We're all doing the same job.
So it's almost a double because you have to handle all that comes with the fire safety. And I'm going to sound like an idiot, but saving lives. But then you also have to do the medical side. Seems like a lot to me.
Not only that, we have the hazmat side. We have building collapse. We have confined space. We have rope rescue, water rescue.
I used to do the water rescue in our neighborhood pool, right?
In the neighborhood pool. We did some training to fix some of the stuff in the pool. So there's a vast majority of stuff that we do that most people don't realize.
Which makes my heart rate go up a little bit because you said something about secluded spaces or just you talking about it makes my body go, oh, that sounds horrible.
Anyone who doesn't think that confined space, there's very few people like, hey, it's an awesome day today. We get to do confined space and you're going to cram me in this and make me
like it, should we? Because we don't breathe well there.
We shouldn't like it. And it's a thing that we work on. If you certainly don't have just normal anxiety from that, there's something wrong with you.
Okay. So we're going to be hitting on different things, right, aren't we? Human anxiety, fight or flight, which we should have. Anxiety from life. And then potentially the anxiety and the pressures of the job.
Yes.
Like I'm seeing it coming in from all different angles.
Yes. We're the when you don't know what to do, it's give it to the fire department.
Yeah. So it starts with you, and then it trickles down to whoever else might be the right people to bring in. So we hear those sirens, we see the big trucks, we know.
Yeah, but you don't know what we're going on. It could be down wires. It just could be a million other things, and two simple things of, I can't find my remote, but you call for chest pain. Well, the problem is you can't find your remote. You called and said you have chest pain. So we're worrying about chest pain, and you find the remote, and everything's good.
That's terrifying that would be a call, but I guess if you felt like it was causing a blood pressure issue, I'm trying to be tolerant here. That sounds horrible.
That's one of our very hard things is me and you go off on a tangent. And that's where a lot of the mental health issues come from. Just you go to school and you're like, I'm going to save people. And I learned all this stuff and wow, look at all this. And then you go and you're like, yeah, I haven't used any of these skills because vast majority of what we go on are people who don't necessarily have life skills to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And the instant answer we get is call 911 because they'll fix everything. And when you have cars in the driveway, you can help yourself. You can go to the store. If you have someone call and say, my baby has a fever. Okay, well, what is it? I don't know.
They're calling 911 for this.
Yeah.
Not non-emergency, not
no,
like
911, because it's what we've trained people to do. And you're like, well, don't you have a thermometer? You have children. Don't you have Motrin and Tylenol to like...
Right.
No, we solve everything.
Was it always like this? Were you always the all-around covering of all these different zones plus this, or has the dynamic changed over time?
Since I've got in, we've definitely been part of that, I think.
How long and how many years total? If you said it, I wasn't listening close enough.
30.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so just about 30.
So 30 years it has looked similar
to me, yes.
Ouch. Okay. So this is not unique. This is what firefighters are doing.
It's what firefighters are doing. Certainly
trees, which is relevant.
Well,
big ladders.
So here's what my answer to cats in a tree. Have you ever seen a skeleton of a cat in a tree? It will come down. So the cats will always come down.
So this is like from the old comic books. This
is the old comic books, yeah.
And you've never seen one like laying on the ground near the tree, arching in pain, right?
No.
They figure it out.
They figure it out, and they are able to fly. It's pretty amazing.
I think, and our culture, we see this in mental health, is changing a little bit too. You kind of mentioned distress tolerance, and some people just don't have good distress tolerance. So they're panicking. They're in their fight or flight and they're calling you, but you're not doing what you were set to do, and it's not probably as fulfilling, if that's fair to say.
Correct.
Can I say it that way?
No, correct.
Yeah.
Because that's where a lot of the depression, anxiety, PTSD just, I think, will evolve, because that chips away at your positive, how you were feeling like, hey, we're here to do all this good. And, one of the jokes is we call it the cabulance. There's a vast majority of stuff that ambulance is that most people don't realize. It's a glorified You don't know what to do?
I have no idea. See, so my ignorant seat here has no idea this happens. I just figure when there's an ambulance get over, it is super important.
And for us in the city, we have reduced how many times we respond with lights and sirens, not only to a call, but to the hospital, for the safety of who we're taking and for us and for the general public.
Yeah.
Because if this isn't a true emergency where they just need, for a lot of people in my city, it's frontline healthcare. And that's just the way it is.
You're like the urgent care
we're
that's
like
traveling in a big vehicle.
So we tend to be that first line healthcare. And with that comes things that aren't such an emergency, but we transport anyway.
But you weren't prepared or trained. You talk about those classrooms for being able to do this kind of intervention. It almost sounds like you're mental health practitioners at the front board too. These are people that are
people are calling with anxiety, panic attacks, different mental health issues. Currently in the city, we have 2 newer rehab places for drugs and alcohol. It has become huge. I mean, the amount of calls we're getting out of there is tremendous.
Meaning people that are in the facility, like in higher level of care, that need more support. Is that
correct? That's where we're having a debate right now of maybe after hours, the nurses and doctors are gone, so we don't really know what to do with these people. But you're a treatment facility. Should you be calling 911 because they're going through withdrawals, or you're a facility that should be handling withdrawals?
Yeah, so the ownership of some of this is confusing at times.
Correct.
Where do people go? And you're saying
then we dump them in the ER, and then they get sent back later after they're checked out, and the ER says, okay.
But you go there as a firefighter, but really you're just taking somebody from one place to another.
Correct.
Which, if that's the job and it starts to evolve that way, then there has to be a skill set or an understanding of how to manage that then.
Well, there should be, I think, at the higher level of care in a facility like that.
Yeah.
You brought these people in. Their family, their insurance is paying you in a huge amount of money to take care of them.
Right. Keep them there.
Keep them there. Yes, they're going through a withdrawal. Yes, they may be sick, but you have staff to do that.
I find that interesting because in some of our higher level eating disorder facilities, there's medical staff, and there are certain facilities that have a medical staff on staff 24/7 because of this, because there's so much medical fragility. They probably should be doing the same dynamic.
They should be. Yeah. When we used to have a jail years ago, a lot of the firefighter paramedics would work part-time in the jail for frontline healthcare in the jail. But these places, so it's another thing that just adds to our pile. Like when you're young and you have all these great thoughts and you're going to do all this great stuff, and then just keep piling it on and piling it on.
And it looks different.
And it looks different, way different.
I get this sense, and maybe I got it wrong. When you go and it's an actual thing you're trained for, maybe you're going up, backdraft, right? I got to say it every time I do it. And you're in it, and you're in something, and it's a good outcome. You feel different. I got a sense that you like that fight or flight.
Yeah, well, that's why we do it. We're junkies.
Oh, tell me more about that, because that for people, I work with so many people saying, please God, make my fight or flight go away, because it's misfiring. You want it.
But mine is misfiring.
Oh, now we got it.
So mine does misfire, and I don't know what to do when it's not there. So for me, the fight or flight is my thrive, is my existence. When I don't have that is when I get into trouble.
But you still get anxious when you don't have it. What happens to you?
I get super anxious when I don't have it. When there's nothing going on, when the kids go off to college.
Which they're doing.
When the house is empty and I get off shift, that is my bad time. And that is, from what I've gathered, a lot of our bad time. Because we thrive on the camaraderie of being at work, the brotherhood, sitting at the kitchen table, busting chops, but we can connect all day long.
And you do it for a long period of time,
24 hours, sometimes 48.
And then it's nothing.
And then there's nothing. So you just go dark. It's just quiet. And you're like, so most of us work on our days off, not to work. It's to occupy that time. It's to continue to move.
The distraction.
The distraction. Most of us aren't calm. We're not like, we don't just come home and just plop. That is that time that we fill. And that is one of the things in my journey, as we'll get into it, has reared its head for me.
Yeah, because that time has gotten more and more painful probably, or distressing. Correct. We see this in mental health a lot too, in any kind of mental health. And obviously you're talking about that, but not just in your setting, is that when the brain is quiet, it gets really scary.
Yes.
And we want to fill the space.
We want to fill the space with anything to distract. That brain starts to think of all the things you've seen, and you start to have those flashbacks or smells, certain noises. And when you're left to your own accord, those become your reality.
Yeah, you're back in a different kind of fight or flight.
Yes, it's a traumatizing fight or flight, not the fun, get in the truck.
The roller coaster fight or flight.
The roller coaster. We hear of a smoke showing, which is a fire for us. That's the fight or flight, the good fight or flight, because that's when we ramp up. But when you don't have that.
It's fascinating how in its pure form, it's fabulous. Like we joke about, we want fight or flight, but man, when we don't want that cortisol pumping in our body and what it does to our cognition, forget it.
It makes a very long, difficult minute, hour, day, month, time frame. And it's hard to explain to people if you don't experience it. Trying to explain to your wife, trying to explain to your kids that what it is, it's very, very difficult to share that. As I've told people, I don't want you to feel it. I understand, or, I'm here. And I know it's hard for them, and it's hard for friends who I reached out to some friends for some help that I work with, and I know they have some stuff, but
your lived experience, you've shared this though.
We've shared it.
And you've gotten help.
Yes.
And we're going to get into that because I'm curious how much help is out there for this global issue that you're talking about for all of our first responders. But you're seeing someone, right? And how long did it take you to recognize that I can't just do this on my own sitting in my house paralyzed?
Right. So probably 20 years ago, I had a small bout of depression, anxiety, didn't really know. I did see somebody. It was a short span of time. I don't really remember the help that it was so much of, well, here's take this, and a few months. And then it was like, okay, I'm busy again. And I'm like, I'm good. So I didn't really follow up at that time. And at that time, even in the job, it's a stigma. It's a big stigma.
To get mental health care.
To get mental health care. Which has changed immensely, thank God.
Yay. The bells and the whistles and the thank gods. Yes, it has.
So
it's almost a pride now.
I don't care if anyone knows. I've long enough in my job, and I don't want younger guys or older guys to have to go through it or wonder, what am I going to do? So
yeah, try fighting that feeling you described in your house alone. Without substituting with maladaptive behavior.
Yes.
And we haven't even talked about that.
We haven't.
Other people would have treated that other ways. Wow. You can't do that alone.
No, you can't. So I would say about 7-8 years ago, it was wintertime, and I kept seeing someone else at a baseball. And he's another firefighter.
At a baseball game?
At a baseball, like our boys were playing baseball on opposite teams.
I was wait, I don't understand. Where did you
No. So we would see each other.
Got it.
And I kept kind of talking to him, and he was on the front lines for the firefighters of the mental health stuff. But again, super early on. And I was just kind of asking him some questions. And he knew. He said, call this number. I need you to vet this person. So it was kind of a thing where he gave me that thing like, hey, you know, I see it, I hear it, and call this number. So I called the number, and I went in, and her name is Corinne Santor. So she is
give her props, because you said she's really helping you. So.
She has helped a ton of us, and
you said us, because we're going to go with that, but she's doing, it started
multiple
with you,
first
right? And then boom.
Yes, multiple first responders.
Love it.
So I went in the first couple times, and it was a very interesting dynamic because I'm my innocent Irish Catholic boy, and I would, fuck this or fuck that, and then I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. So it took a few times for her to finally...
You're an apologizer, are you?
Yes. Well, she finally unleashed, and hopefully if she listens to this podcast, she will still laugh that she dropped the hammer on me and got real. Good. And from that point on, when we got real, I knew that I could talk to her.
Yeah. She made it safe for you.
She made it safe, and just let it out. Don't worry about, because I don't want to be polite.
We're not shy.
And I've known you long enough, though, too, I think, to, if I...
You would never be polite for me, would you? You've heard the worst in the back of vans driving us all home.
Yes.
Come on, Kevin.
But for her, it was someone new, and... Yeah.
And it's a vulnerable place to open yourself up in front of somebody that...
Well, to someone I'm looking at, it's this young girl. I'm like, what the hell do you know about what I do?
Good point.
What do you know about what I do? What are you going to tell me? You don't know jack shit.
Yeah.
So
and that room, and her expertise is very important, but being able to go in a room and open that stuff up, even if she wasn't great, was still the good stuff.
Yes.
You opened it up.
Yes, and I was definitely, I remember what was the question is, why are you here? Mm-hmm. I said, I'm tired of being tired.
Yeah.
I'm just tired of fighting this. What am I fighting? I don't even know what I'm fighting.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting, and I'm just tired. And I remember the first many months of being there, leaving there, just wanting to just go to sleep in my car, just like, oh, I'm just so tired of like that hour that we just did. Yes. And then we got into the EMDR.
Oh, you did EMDR.
We did EMDR, and that was a whole other.
Was it effective for you, Kevin? Because it can be. But you had PTSD. I don't know if that would have been the right timing for EMDR.
So the PTSD, and we're going to have to get into when that was maybe diagnosed per se versus when we met.
Because that's what I meant. I never did ask you what your actual diagnoses over your lifespan were. You mentioned PTSD a few times.
Correct. Okay. So anxiety, depression, PTSD, and now they've even thrown in the seasonal because wintertime is definitely the...
And in Cleveland. I have great ideas for that later, by the way.
Florida. Florida's a great idea. I don't know. January, February, March.
Maybe we could create a little mini Florida in a jar for you.
Yeah, maybe get a couple offices down there.
For those of us to get it, like right now the sun's nonstop for 2 weeks.
It's beautiful.
And then
oh my
it's going
gosh.
to tank. And we're all going to be like, ooh.
Yes.
So you got a bunch of stuff. 4 diagnoses for you. Good for you.
Yes. So it's with that comes, a lot of the EMDR was to unleash a lot of, or reopen and try to put to bed or calm, whatever way you want to use it, bring to light the stuff that was stuck in my head that I never processed, that I never dealt with, because, of course, early in my career in the fire service, it was, oh, we just had that suicide. Hey, you good? Oh, yeah, I'm good. Okay. And then we joke, and then we go eat dinner. Yeah. And then you just bury it, and you don't do anything about it.
Was this all from career too, or was any of it back from, you mentioned, I can't help myself because we're about the same age, we are the same age, and we're both that Irish Catholic background, and you go cry in your room later when no one's looking. So was any of this part of the way you learned to suppress when you were younger, or was this all just from the job? I'm not trying to dig into your psychoanalysis.
No, there's two things. Okay. There's two things as a kid. So I was the youngest of 5.
So you're eating the dirty pacifier off the ground.
Yeah.
You weren't even getting a pacifier.
My siblings all abused me. They hated me.
Kevin, me too, by the way. I'm the youngest too.
I'm the youngest of 5. My siblings were so bad to me.
They're supposed to be. That's why you're tough.
So I had 2 things that I can trace back to me that through all this therapy I've done.
So it's not just the job. You found more links.
So I found some more links. It built on these. And this was then like, okay, now I don't know how to handle this because I didn't know how to handle that at a young age. So the one, my father, I was in 2nd grade. He had bypass surgery. And today we think, no big deal. Bypass, you go in and you're done in like...
Not in the 70s.
No, he was gone. And we were all at the park playing. Remember, he yelled at us to go home, and then he was gone. He drove himself to the doctor's office. He drove himself from the medical buildings across from Hillcrest to main campus. And then he had triple bypass at the age of 39. Dad
Wow.
wasn't a big guy.
Such
He's
a
my
shock.
size as far as, weight or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, back then you didn't see him. To me, it felt like he was gone forever because he wasn't there. And all these people are in
You
my
didn't
house.
visit. You didn't.
No,
yeah.
not back then.
No.
You couldn't visit. And the
No.
kids, no way. So now when he finally came home, he's like skinny, no beard, like everything was different. And all these people are still around, and it was just a crazy time. So prior to that, my mother was an alcoholic. Greatest thing that from her is she helped so many people. And I didn't know it at the time. It took me longer into my adulthood.
As a sponsor, or
As a sponsor, as leading AA meetings, as just being like the leader. And I actually had friends I knew like, hey, your mom helped me. I'm not supposed to tell you that. So
was she recovered then for
She's-
a lot
oh,
of your childhood?
yeah, oh yeah. So
good for her.
there was a chunk, a small chunk. And again, back then, what do you do when you have anxiety and depression and you've had 5 kids and now they're all
You
leaving you?
self-medicate.
Self-medicate.
Yeah. And she probably in the anxiety depression. There's probably a genetic piece.
Correct.
You're getting it from her, but you avoided that path, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Okay.
So I only drank for a little bit of time and then I was like, it's just not me.
Thank
Like,
God.
you know what I mean?
That could
So-
have been horrible for you.
Right. So
Really.
the years of everyone getting married and having fun, but even through high school, I chose not to. It was just something I was like, I fear that other side,
Yeah.
and I just didn't want to.
Which
So
is really good. That could have become I could see that having had an addictive nature for you, just
Yes.
in hearing your story and your suffering, at least later.
no, so absolutely.
Good.
And
Good job, you.
well, and I just did it one day. We had some weddings and it was just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then one morning I just woke up and that's kind of the same time when I had that bout of anxiety and depression. I'm like, whoa, something's not right here.
Mm-hmm.
Drinking does not make me feel good. Drinking, and I discovered that, and I think I'm so blessed that I don't have to use substance, knock on wood, to suppress anything.
But then it hurts, and then
But
you
then
have
it
to work
hurts,
through
and
the
there's
hurt.
nothing to suppress it. So,
But
but I
then,
know the
yeah.
negative side of that too from a lot of people. It makes it worse. It really does. I mean, there's nothing that buries it. You feel good for a few hours.
Short term.
But now how long does it take for that to go away? And then you're just going for the next one. So for me, it was great. Stopped. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. Like for a while, people are like, oh, we're going out. I'm like, okay, well, I can go out.
Yeah.
I can go to the bar with you. I mean, why can't I go to the bar with you? I worked in the flats for years.
Right. I don't have
You
to
know, I'm
drink.
like, I just choose not to drink. No big deal.
So your dad was an influence because you saw his suffering, and your mom was an influence because it sounds like you saw her strength and her impact.
Both sufferings and their strength
Yeah.
because, my father's strength from keeping a family together back then.
I assume he recovered.
Oh, my dad, yeah.
at
And they're
40.
both still alive, which is crazy. They're 86.
Wow.
Which is awesome. But
But
I
as
mean,
a little kid, you didn't know that.
I didn't know that. I thought they were both gone. And I still, again, even when my mom, she went to do some, recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And then these people are in my house and why are the neighbors here? Just unanswered questions as a kid.
Because were they not talking about it and saying, here's what's happening? You were kind of,
I was the youngest, and it was, da-da-da. And I remember, and if my dad listens to this, Dad, it's okay. Mom, it's okay. It's all good. He tried to talk to me one day about, and I'm like, Dad, I'm old enough. I figured it out. It's okay. Like,
Right.
I have enough information.
I got 4 siblings to fill me in here.
You learn it, you live it, and then you figure things out over time.
But you must have been, I don't know what the right language is here. You must have been a sensitive soul.
Yes.
Because that stuff stayed in you, and it was so important and poignant. Maybe some people just,
I come off, I can be big, bad, blah, 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 but I actually am
You're
a
plain.
big softie.
I know you are. But
I'm the one, like, when the kids were going to school, I'm the one crying, and there's my wife. She's like concrete. Now, I know
is.
deep down she cares,
She
and
does.
she let a little tear, but I'm the one, I am an open book. When my feelings come out, they come out, and I can't hold them back.
so when you have that much to work from, it's such a benefit and beautiful, but it also can hurt like hell.
It
You're
hurts like
learning.
hell because it just pours and pours, and it doesn't stop.
But you can do something with it. And it sounds like you're on that path. But you said there were 2 things. Was there something else that...
So the 2 instances of
Oh, the
both of my
parents. Got
parents, because they were 2 separate instances very young in my life, which
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to process. I didn't know what the answers were. I didn't know, as I've gone through therapy, and I've done 2 different chunks, so we haven't even gotten to that, which we will. But the therapy then, it seems like all this stuff, I don't know how to do the same. So from my childhood, I didn't know how to handle it. So now I don't know how to handle it because in
You
the
don't
fire
know what you don't
service, you don't know what you don't know. I'm so happy for the younger generation. They're starting to do things even in the academies and stuff where mental health is going to be part of training, and it's not going to be looked at as
That was going to be my next question. You read my mind. Are they doing something?
it's just on the verge. But
Really?
the International Association of Firefighters, huge thing that has been done. There's a place in Baltimore called the COE. It's the Center of Excellence. It's run by the International through a hospital. Well, I was unlucky and lucky to go there this past year, and this is where my next therapy comes in.
Because was there nothing for a while? You had that little bit 20
years ago, and then I had been seeing Corinne.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you haven't seen her a lot.
And I've always been seeing her.
How long have you seen her?
Like 8 years.
Oh, wow. She's a keeper.
She's a keeper.
I can't wait to meet her. Okay. I interrupted you, though. You were about to tell me about Baltimore.
No,
No,
that's fine.
I was curious.
So for her, it's, once a week or once every other week, or, so
you
it's,
need.
but this is therapy on steroids. It's only firefighters. So it's run by the International Association of Firefighters. It's only firefighters from around the country. And
it's not other first responders, just firefighters. It's made
just
for you guys.
there was a dispatcher, like if they have an opening, but they really try to keep it just to us because it was amazing when I got there. Of course, one of my good friends from work, I asked that he drive me. So we drove, and when we got there, like you're being dropped off. It's like 10 o'clock at night by the time we got there. This nurse met me, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I just want to go home.
It must have been kind of scary.
It was scary. I just want to go home. I don't want to be here. I want to go home to my kids. I want to be with my wife. I'm just not feeling well. But what made me not feel well was that anxiety, depression, that PTSD was just relentless for some reason. It was growing and growing.
Were you medicating it, Kevin? I didn't ask you that.
So, yeah, we got back on some meds. My primary care was trying to help me. Corinne was trying to help me, and nothing was working. Okay, what the hell's going on? And this is one thing that most people don't know. And I had a couple mornings that were super painful. And the final morning I woke up.
When you were at COE?
No, when I was at home. And this is what made me go, okay, being at home is not working right now. Something is not working. And I woke up, and the only thing that was going through my head was suicide. No plan, no wanting to. It just scares the shit out of me.
And it's exhausting to have.
And it's exhausting to have. And I picked up the phone. I called my friend Chris. He was over in like 5 minutes, sat with me all day, talked to me. I wasn't eating. I was losing weight.
You knew to call someone, by the way.
I knew to call.
You didn't sit in that space because it can grow.
That was scary. It was scary. He sat with me. God bless him. He's ex-military but works with us, and he's had enough friends, and we made the call to the COE. He helped make that phone call with Celeste, and it felt like a little bit of relief there. Like, okay, this isn't working right now. There's nowhere here to go. I'm not going to go and be in general population at Marymount, or it's just not. I had enough. It's hard to explain. I had enough wits about me, but I couldn't control. You know what I mean? I knew enough to be like, I don't need to go there.
Right.
I need to go somewhere. I needed somewhere higher level. So when I got there, so this nurse meets me, and I'm a mess. I'm still kind of crying. I'm exhausted. We drove all that time to get there. They're doing full physicals, they're drawing blood, and blah, blah, blah. And when I finally got out, and they kind of take you to where you're going to med A or B, and then you go to different firehouses in like usually a week or so. And the firehouses are the living quarters. So they try to make it as loungers. You do take class there. That's your TV, and then you sleep there.
Oh, okay.
So
it's
you're
not
together.
So medical, not so hospitalized?
No. Med A and B are a little bit, because they're kind of watching you. Someone's coming in like every 15 minutes.
Like if
to
you're a
check.
safety risk?
Safety, yeah, but they do it for everybody. And they do it even as you progress through the program to make sure that you're there, which is fine. Mm-hmm. So, I'm doing this, and I'm in these classes, and I know one of the first days, they're like, okay, we're going to send you over here. And I said, okay, to start putting you into classes, because they told you for your first week or two, you just get pulled out constantly. You're getting pulled out
to see
practitioners, to see a nurse, to see a doctor, to
the whole team.
They
Just what you need.
They do EMDR there, really intense EMDR,
which can be short. You can do 3 to 6 weeks and have impact.
You're there 24 hours. I was there for 32 days.
Wow, that's a long stay.
It was, and I was short. They wanted me there for a little bit longer. I was stubborn, and
I think I saw you after you came out.
that's pretty much, I think, when
You were chatty. You were like, you know what? Here's where I'm at.
Correct.
This is good.
That's when I kind of knew, like, hey, guys, what, So with that being said, I was grateful. I've met guys from all over the country. I'm still friends with them. And you see everyone, even if they were substance, they're substance because the calls and the stuff and the stresses.
Yeah. Did they teach dual then, if you had addiction or mental
So they
health
did. So we kind of crossed. But then sometimes it would be, hey, you're going just for mental health. They're going for their addiction side.
So there is an addiction side for it.
So there is an addiction side. And then it's crossed a little bit with some of the classes we take, which is fine.
It should be, quite honestly.
But it's nice because you're in loungers, which is the thing that makes you feel comfortable.
When you say lounger, does that mean where
lazy boys?
Oh, I thought maybe that was like a term for where firefighters stay.
No.
Like you're comfy.
But it's a comfortable setting. You're not in this sterile white, sitting in a hard chair in a classroom.
Which is good for nobody.
Is good for nobody.
With the fluorescent lights and
right.
Mm-hmm.
So
they have that right. They have the setting right.
And all the clinicians would come in and teach. And you might move a station, but they might move.
So you had group care, individual care. I assume you had probably your own therapist too there,
yes.
I would assume.
Yes.
Did they do soothing and teaching you regulation skills too?
So they would try, and of course we're a bunch of children.
I would love to get a bunch of you and just teach you some yoga.
So we would do a lot of meditation.
Yeah.
So they would do a lot on the screen or just, and you know what? We did it. Honestly.
I'm just laughing because you're like, I did it. I did your damn meditation.
I did. We did it.
We're doing one at the end of this, Kevin.
And we would do, so the first time I had to do art therapy there.
Yeah.
I was like, seriously? Like, you're going to give me a box of crayons?
Did it blow your mind how good you felt after you colored something?
So it was interesting because it was the couple times that I had it, you had to pick something, and I was making, I don't know, like paracord bands with clips. It made me feel good because I sent one to each one of the kids and my wife.
Love it.
And I was able to mail it. To me, that was like sending a piece of me back.
Mm-hmm. Used to be ashtrays in the old days.
Well, yeah.
They made the ashtrays with the little tiles. And
so even that gets me choked up a little bit.
Do you remember those?
I remember them, and they'd still have them.
We do too.
So it gets me a little teary-eyed just to think that
I love your emotion. You don't have to be afraid of it here. Take your time.
So it's just one of those emotions that came back because
absolutely. But I feel like this emotion in you it's a good one too, though. I feel love in that emotion you're sharing.
It was.
It's not just hurt, is it?
It was what I was doing to get
tissues down there.
My shirt worked quite well.
Your Carhartt's ready to
yes.
But that was
love.
Emotion.
That was
yes, it was. I loved it. I'm sorry. It felt very beautiful and authentic.
Because I miss them. It's you could feel it coming out of me now.
Yeah, but it's not dark.
This part's not dark.
That wasn't. That was like, oh, wow.
Like, I love them more than they know.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, to feel that kind of emotion and be okay with loving someone that much. That's a whole nother thing, right? Like, how can I do that without it eating me alive? They're the little pandas. But when you did like the art therapy and the yoga and all that, it's really just teaching your nervous system that it doesn't have to be firing so fast. So that's kind of like a hijack of the brain. Because they can do all this brain work and you can do all this deep work and work on like the origins and the EMDR. But you can also teach your body to just stop and teach it to slow down.
Well, and one of the things that we did work on, they gave us masks. So it was like a face mask.
Like a
cardboard.
Mask?
No, that they wanted you to draw how you feel on the inside and then where you want to be. And the funny thing is, I brought that and I left it in the car. So it's downstairs and I meant to show it, so I will have to get that.
Are you an artist? Because mine would be hideous.
Well...
Is there judgments here?
It was interesting because I really didn't know what to do. I knew what I wanted the outside. I didn't know what to do on the inside, and I just started painting the entire thing black. And that's just what my mind and my body it was black. And then I started drawing thunderbolts of lightning. And as we were sitting next to each other, we're still firemen at heart. All of us, no matter where we came from, we're still going to bust balls. We're still going to make fun of each other. We're still going to...
I should hope so.
Yeah. So we were sitting there, and then it kind of got quiet. And everybody was like kind of going to town painting. So on the outside, I painted an island with a sunset and some seagulls and a palm tree. Where are you? Well, I'm in this dark place. I want to be in this beautiful, calm, non-stressful, where my body's not going 100 miles an hour, my mind's not going 100 miles an hour. I know one of the pre-questions you kind of gave me to do some thinking. That is one of my difficulties. I can't I hate to say the word I can't. I am working on.
Very good. Good job, Corin.
Yes, I'm working on, and I have been working on how to get to that place. Right. And it's been very difficult. I am not a peaceful person by myself. And I never have been. Is that from childhood? Is that just from all this growing and building on that? So me by myself, I wish I could be like, hey, I'm going to go on vacation for 3 days by myself. Never going to happen. No, I won't say never. Sorry, I used the negative again.
A lot of people would be uncomfortable with that, though. I think it is.
Part of me feels guilt, and I'm like, well, I would want to bring the kids, and I want to bring my wife, because why wouldn't I want to bring my wife? Like, that's the whole idea of...
You want to try it, but then you don't think it would be good for you.
I don't think it would be good for me, no.
And a lot of people, maybe it wouldn't. Maybe you have to alter your expectations a little bit. It sounds like you've set such a goal that you have to be a certain way, and maybe it's about accommodating to who you are.
So trying
cleaning up the edges a little and not changing you.
Trying.
Yeah, making it work for you.
And like I said, even when the kids just went off to college, everyone has that experience of the kids going off to college. It seems to like just multiply with me. And it was so hard to not have them around. They're my buddies.
Finding your own space.
Finding your own space and your own time, and all the years of coaching and doing things and doing for them. And it's like, okay, so, and this also realms into my retirement. What do I do?
Why are you thinking about that now, Kevin?
Well,
are you doing some what-if thinking?
If you ask all the guys I work with, they're like, he's the old man. So I could have retired 4.5 years ago. I chose not to, because I love going in, and you'll hear this from anyone. You can find this from anyone around. Going in and sitting with your crew, or the crew that's off-going or oncoming, hearing what the gossip is and just the general BS and the kitchen table and making fun of each other, and who's just, it's something that's hard to explain. You could take the bullshit calls and you could have them all day long, but it's that camaraderie that it's hard to find anywhere else.
Yeah,
because we're not politically correct when we're in there. We make fun of pretty much anything and everybody,
but you also have to have each other's backs, and when there is real crisis, you have to be there. That's a big deal. Correct. Most of us don't have to do that with our colleagues at work.
Right. You come if you're a 9 to 5, or leave, and
I don't have to like help save you from
whatever it may be.
Danger,
I mean, we just had a multiple shooting around the one fire station, and those guys, I wasn't there, but those guys had to take care of each other and make sure each other's backs were covered, and we do a lot of things like that are real world that people don't think. And we joke around. I joked saying the therapy I got in Maryland, we're in recliners, and that's the old adage for firemen, right? Oh, you guys just sit around. But I would say, you might think we sit around, but while you were sleeping,
you were on call.
We were on calls. We were taking care of things. Yeah. And that's where a lot of the trauma, the PTSD comes into play. And you don't have to be at the busiest place. I'm at one of the busier cities. So it does add up calls. It does add up your chances.
True. You're going to see more potentially.
And I have calls that are pretty graphic. I said if I could have been an artist and I could have drawn what I saw, maybe that would have helped. But even in therapy, so I won't get detailed, but you could edit it out if I say something that we don't want to be an image for somebody. So even when I was with the group of firefighters in Maryland, you didn't get specific.
Purposely?
Purposely.
Yeah. So you wouldn't trigger other people.
So you wouldn't trigger other people. So you could say, hey, I was on a suicide, or I was on a really bad wreck, but you didn't get into very specific details.
The graphic.
The graphic side of it.
Those are the images that are going to be in your head.
Those are in my head. I don't need them to transplant into your head or open up one of your traumas that cause you to also be here. Right. You have to keep it, because we all know.
Well, and that's the PTSD. What do you do with those flickers as they come in? Correct. And going back to something you said a minute ago with this camaraderie, and you guys are all teaming up and taking care of each other, I think you're saying now we need to team up and take care of our mental health too. It's almost like this open conversation is so good. If you guys are that close.
It's bigger now. And I don't, like I told you, I don't care, because for me, I even joke about it. So when I've come back, they're like, oh, you're back. And there was some anxiety built in with coming back. Mm-hmm. What would guys think? What would different people think? I am blessed and lucky to say that not one person was negative. People gave me a hug. People shook my hand. People say, welcome back. Hope you're better. Or, and that's one of those things. Glad you're better. I wish it was that easy. I didn't go get surgery.
It
makes them feel better. So again, when I hear people say, I'm like, awesome. That means, in my mind, that you don't experience this.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, glad you're better. Not that simple.
You're like, it's a process.
It's a process. It's not that
not
simple.
linear.
But they acknowledged it. It was cool. And so I joke around, and even guys will say it now. I said, yeah, when I was away at SAD camp. So even when all the guys...
Slippy sock school?
We were all joking around. We had many different names for where we were, because you have to.
We must have levity. One of the people I work with, they say, we're not taking it lightly, we're just holding it lightly. And
right.
That's okay.
So you have to have that to go there. Even through my local therapy, I've been open with guys, because I don't care. I don't have to hide it.
Where would you be now in your story if you weren't getting help? You've gotten a lot of help. You've gone to higher level of care, and you're still in a process. But you're surviving. You're living. You're there for your family. What would it have looked like?
Scary.
Scary. And I'm not saying we have to go there, but
no. But
God
I mean, I look at it and say, drinking, drugs, divorce, abuse, and with that, I've experienced just a tremendous amount of people who've taken their own life and been that first person to walk in the door, and you see that. And one of them was very, very early on when I worked in Menor. And again, I won't get into details about it. Right. I've told the story to people, and it's very graphic, and it's very graphic how it happened to me. But I can talk a little bit about some of the things if people don't understand PTSD. I even, when it was being told to me, I'm like, no, that's for the guys in the military.
That's where we started to coin it, because
Correct.
We saw their PTSD, but it's...
Which, again, thank God for those guys who were able to help.
And just because you go through trauma doesn't mean you have PTSD either.
Correct.
It's what your body did with it.
It's what your body did with it. Yeah. And so one of my things is this particular case, a poor woman took her life, and we didn't know where, what, or how exactly. But there was a light bulb at the bottom of the stairwell. And right now, it just made my chest tight. How the PTSD affects you when you don't think it is, or all of a sudden, so that light bulb...
Subtle.
And if my boys listen to this, sorry, I still had a great time, but I took them to an Ohio State national championship game in Indianapolis. And we're watching the game, and there was a light that shined. They were moving lights, to make the place, and it hit me. And that's where it took me. With my boys, supposed to be having a ball, and boom, I'm reliving it. My brain was going there. That's what I'm envisioning.
You probably were in fight or flight. You probably were
correct.
Panic or increased anxiety, at least.
Absolutely, it was. And It was like, why? So just to give, that's just one piece.
What did you do, by the way? I'm going to jump on that. What did you do to be able to be in this space with your kids? How did you handle your reaction? Because there's a healing here somewhere. There has to be.
I'm like, okay, they're here. They don't know. Smile on your face. Talk myself through it. And then the game kind of went on, and still just it was there. So there is the distraction of the game that helped.
And that would be where a regulation tool to learn, what do I do to take, is your system just fired? How do I bring it down?
It fired big time. Yeah. So there's a lot of
But you did it. You survived that.
There's a lot of things that police, fire, hospital, especially ER, dispatchers, but when you see it, smell it, touch it, and it's there, and it doesn't just go away.
Right.
So that image, or you do certain things, I drive around the city. I know exactly where certain calls happen.
Oh, how could you forget that?
I know doing washdowns from body fluids or parts, or...
So you have association everywhere.
Everywhere I drive in the city, I have an association with something. And we do get, our call volume is of that, where you have a lot of association because there's a lot of calls. There's a lot of bad shit that happens.
Are there positive associations too? Do you drive by and think, oh, I had a good coffee at that coffee shop? That's a great park to walk through.
I have one that there was an elderly woman who had a stroke, and Clinic has a stroke truck. So it was kind of neat. It was when we were first using it.
We're talking about Cleveland Clinic here, I assume.
Yes.
Maybe they'll give us props since we mentioned them.
Yes. Well, their stroke truck is a miracle worker. This woman, we started all the basic care. Yeah. They showed up. They set this thing up, and it's awesome. They have a screen that goes right to the ER. The doctors are looking, all the assessments. The care they give.
Because it's all about timing.
It's all about timing. The CAT scan gets done right in that truck, and they open up the door probably 10 minutes later, and she was able to say hi. So it was kind of neat. So there are some.
But you
I
went
would
right
say
to your job. But do you see how your brain went?
Yes.
Because you didn't think about anything else going on in that area but your job.
Because that's where I'm at. And after all these years.
It's learning how to repaint, flood it in with other stuff. Because there's so much of one story in there.
Yes.
Like when you drive to work, I mean. It's all, you're seeing.
When you drive in,
like
all of a sudden
movie,
yes.
A haunted house.
Boom,
And
that's where they got run over. Boom, that's where they stood in front of the train. Boom, that's where.
so we have to retell those places too.
So that's.
Look at me brainstorming, but I'm like, oh, we got to retell that street and we have to reach it. But it's such a journey. None of this happens quickly. You've been working on it for so long and it's still there.
But then you still go on calls. So you're still there. So you add to it.
The alcohol to the alcoholic. Yeah, you don't get to take that break. That's a really good point. So that break, taking 32 days off, was probably imperative.
It was weird.
Yeah, you weren't at work. What did you do?
I wasn't at work. Well, I was.
And you weren't on vacation.
No, and they take your phone. Talk about something that's crazy. Take your phone. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I was able to get every other day for an hour to FaceTime the kids and let them know, like, I'm okay, I'm here. Could watch TV 99% of the time. No one turned the news on. I would get up in the morning, I'd work out, I'd go eat. And again, very grateful. I wish police nationally could figure out the same kind of structure.
Do they not have that?
They don't have it. And I'm hoping that, somebody could put that together for them. I mean, it's certainly not something that happens overnight. But even for the firefighters, they're opening another place in California. I think it's going to be open around the first of the year. Nice. Because the demand is so big. I met guys from Hawaii, Alaska. I mean, they had to travel all that way to get to Maryland.
So now there'll be more access across the nation, at least.
Yes, it's needed because you are waiting. So when you do your application, you do it over the phone and everything's there. I was supposed to wait longer, and then they had an opening. And it was kind of one of those things they called and said,
oh, let's go.
Come. And I'm like, oh, God, what do I do?
Yeah.
So
did insurance pay, Kev? How
yes,
did you pay? It was insurance-based.
And then the international helps out.
They do.
They do for, certain instances just to help offset, but you still have to have insurance. Yeah, I mean, it's still.
Well, and some of these places will develop.
There is a payment plan and stuff, but now you talk about another stressor. So now there's another stressor that, and
mental health's not cheap. That's why mental health's not question.
Cheap. So even one of my big stressors that just reared its head the other day, Corinne doesn't even know this yet. There's this, and it's causing me anxiety right now. There's this shot, and everyone talked about the shot. Go get the shot. So it's through your neck, and it was to help, like a nerve block. It's to help lower your responses.
Like a vagus nerve?
Kind of like that.
I don't know what this is.
So again, if we take a break, I'll go in my car, and I'll be able to pull some of that information and give it to you. So I left my whole backpack down there.
That's
had
okay.
everything.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break. But what did you say? You said this
caused me
anxiety.
So, oh my gosh. The first time I went, my heart rate was out of control.
When you went for the shot? Oh, you did go get the shot. Oh,
so
tell me what it is then.
That was sponsored by somebody here in Ohio. Corinne actually worked that out for me to have that done because it was like $800. So I went back a few days later to try it again. I got it, and you have to stay still. They have you on an X-ray, like a permanent X-ray, so they can guide it, da, da, da.
Well, that's anxiety-provoking right there.
I got done, and my anxiety went through the roof again. This thing was supposed to, I'm like...
Well, it's also... The procedure itself sounds anxiety-provoking.
Yes.
I mean, if you could nasal it or something, but...
So,
you're already anxious.
The doctor told me, he said, you are my first ever. So, I got to be the first ever in all the patients he's done. He said, you can never have it done in my office again. Okay. You would need to be in the hospital. So you overrode it initially. I overrode everything he was giving me.
Did it get better later, though, from it? Did you get a better back?
I didn't notice anything. Oh. Some guys said it was great.
It's like
and
ketamine.
It helped them. So it's
yes
just it's a yes or no. The only thing it just recently caused me, for some reason, again, my brain finds things to just go and like fire off, and it brought that up. I'm like, why am I? Because it was a traumatic event for me.
Yeah.
It was a traumatic event. And
but it got stored somewhere to come back.
Got stored somewhere to come back. It's like the dentist. I don't like anyone touching me, like medical wise. I don't like anything like the dentist.
It creates almost these avoidance and little phobias, right? Did we get the name of that thing? Let me see.
The name of the shot.
Yeah, so I was not familiar with this. I know nothing about it, but it's called an SGB, a stellate ganglion block.
I thought it had to do with vagus nerve, but I'm not really sure. So I might look into that more, and I'll put it in show notes later. I'm not saying it is or isn't a good procedure. I just knew nothing about it. But in your case, it didn't work.
In my case, it didn't work, but there were many others that they felt great relief. And actually, before they left the COE, they got a second one. Okay. And there are people that go back for more. For me, I don't know if just my body is that one. There's always got to be that one.
Oh, I have so many people like you. The thing that works for everybody else doesn't work for them. And that's okay. You're unique.
I'm unique in that aspect. So
I have a client taking ketamine right now, and her reaction is like no one's ever before. She's getting the improvements of it, but in the session, it's just miserable and horrible, and it's the opposite of everybody else.
Right. So it's just like, really? Why me?
Because you're tough enough, and you have a voice, and we're doing the why me right here because your voice is going to be heard in other people.
Yes.
And they're going to go, oh, wow, I'm not the only person that feels this way.
That feels this way. And maybe that shot is a great thing for them because there was a lot of people that had great results.
Why not?
It's painless. You don't feel anything. It was quick.
Yeah.
But my anxiety just, just different.
Well, and off audio, we were talking about what's your arsenal? What do you do? What are your packages for daily anxiety? And it looks different for all of us. What you're going to package for yourself as your treatment plan every day is going to look different. So yours may not be that shot.
Right. So for me, it's not. So the one thing that I have now is I take Lexapro.
I was going to ask about the meds. And how long have you been taking Lexapro?
Since, let's say, January.
Was this the first time you've taken meds?
I took some meds years ago, that first little bout I had. And back then it was, why am I drawing a blank? Give me a couple.
That's okay. Doesn't matter. But you stopped taking it, I'm assuming, because it wasn't effective
or I just felt,
fizzled
of
out.
Course, that I felt better and I knew better.
And then you stopped taking it.
And then I stopped taking it.
Sometimes with SSRIs you can.
And it worked for many, many, many years. No problem.
It did. Okay.
Well, meaning I would still have anxiety in that, but not enough or I just managed to work through it. So the Lexapro, I started at like 5 and then 10. So I do the max, which is 20.
Is it working? I'm going to be honest. You're telling me I'm suffering a lot. I wonder if it's really doing the job.
I don't know because I don't know what it would be like to be off it. It's one of those things that I did talk to the woman that I see for the meds.
And do you see a specialist in that area?
Yes.
Like an NP or a psychiatrist?
Yes.
Good. That would be my suggestion because it's complicated for you.
Correct. And one of the things we talked about was not necessarily changing at this time of year. If we were ever going to do that, it would probably be like next spring. When
the sun comes back out?
Correct. It's funny. So the other one was Wellbutrin, and it was recommended that I take Wellbutrin as an add-on when the clocks change.
I have heard that. Yeah.
Because Wellbutrin, from what everyone has told me, you could start taking it and you can stop taking it just that quick. With the Lexapro, no. Once I'm on it.
Because it's not an SSRI, where SSRIs need to build up and titrate out of your system. But this medication, when you were talking about anxiety, sometimes people are so set off, like their system is so badly set, if you will, that we do have to peek at the chemicals and we have to peek at the medical approach. And it's not a one and done. These are throw stuff at the wall and see if it sticks.
Correct.
All the SSRIs are and the SNRIs. And so you might find in your path that you might try different stuff down the road and make sure you're getting enough of the medical help for this. Because you have a medical imbalance of anxiety, right? There's no question there's an imbalance. I think anyone with PTSD does. And usually medication's needed.
So I also have a whole litany of medications they gave me when I was at the COE, which again
you pulled them out of your book bag.
Yeah, I pulled them out of my book bag to show you.
What the hell is that?
So
Did they give you PRNs, meaning anxiety meds you just took in the moment too? So
when I was there, the best part, we would say, hey, I'm going to get my Skittles. So some people would be 3 times a day, so I had twice a day, morning and night. And you could say no. So they said, this is what we recommend.
Sure. You can always say no.
Right. So I was able to say, no, I don't think we're going to do quite all those.
Okay. Good for you.
I wanted to do the minimal to help reset. And a lot of it was for the anxiety and the depression. So I do have a lot of PRNs for if anxiety really kicks in.
Do they help you? And can you tell us which ones they are if they do help you?
So
do you want to reach into your book bag? I have to reach into
my magic bag here.
Oh my gosh!
So I probably should take them more often than I do, but part of it is to learn to live a little bit.
Ride the wave
and work through it.
Yeah. There's a beautiful balance, but if the wave is
If it's too
suffocating you, then
Correct.
you can't learn how to ride the wave.
Correct.
So you have to have some water wings for a little bit.
And that's what these are all.
Is that Boost Bar?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Loxapine, which that was 3 times a day as needed. If you'd like to see it.
I don't need to see it. I trust you. I'm laughing because they look like these big paper pill packs.
Correct.
They're very institutional looking.
This is very institutional.
Yes.
The bus bar was once a day. Hydroxyzine.
Vistrol. Well, they gave you everything, didn't they? A little. You got a little bit of everything over there.
Oh, yeah. This isn't everything. There's a few more that
Maybe don't mix up all those PRNs, though.
No.
I don't know how your directions are in outpatient, but that's a lot of different variety there. Oh my! Okay, people can't see because I'm not videotaped. But there's you just brought out 7 prescription bottles. Okay, maybe not 7, but
So the hydroxyzine again, the Lexapro, the Wellbutrin, and then this was propanol. So a blood pressure pill,
yeah, that helps with your
which helps
regulation.
Which helps with regulation and the anxiety.
It's like a benzo without sedating you.
Correct.
Yep.
So the nice thing about that, I mean, if anyone is suffering and they don't really know or they're very anti any med, it's just a blood pressure pill.
Yeah.
So
It just like a glass of red wine would do, but in a more sustainable setting.
correct.
So you'll have to decide, and I would encourage anyone dealing with this to sort of log how effective is one versus the other. What kind of relief am I getting? And if you're not getting any, then we need to go back to the drawing table.
So with part of it though, I don't want to just be medicated.
True story.
So if I'm quote unquote suffering a little bit that day or in a 24-hour period, how am I getting through that? Because I'm trying to still just work through it and work through feelings and have emotion. Because as much as, especially when I went away, I wanted to feel nothing. You just want to feel nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I know that can't be. So if I take these all the time,
They might numb you? Is that your fear?
well, yeah, you don't want to be numb, want to still feel, and I'm still trying to work through stuff. So if I'm numb and I don't feel anything, well, then life is great.
And then you just come out having to work through it.
And you just come out, so do I just mask it with that? But when things are bad, of course you have to have something to help
Yes.
bring you down.
If you can't function.
If you can't function.
Yeah.
And I was at a point where I couldn't function. So even when I came home, I was still taking them and then, again, working with the doctor who prescribes, let's work on dropping some of these and use them as needed.
Absolutely.
So I think,
Well, and this leans into what we talked about a little bit off camera, is that I was talking about the anxiety plan, and I kind of called you out a little bit. I said, well, what's your plan? And you gave me your pillars plan, which is beautiful, and that's your basic pillars. I got to do these things just to stay steady. But then we talked about if you're not going to take the med and you're going to ride the wave, how are you riding it? So it's making sure you have a very concrete plan of the things I do every day: coping, soothing, regulation, whatever those are. It has to be part of the pill box. The pill box,
correct.
if you will.
And so I haven't done as good of a job as I should.
Because it's hard as heck to adopt these.
Correct.
It's amazing how hard it is, even though they're going to help. It's like,
And when I've been busy this summer with kids doing stuff and just different things, again, for me, which I'm sure a lot of people in Northeast Ohio, the harder time is definitely coming. So for me, when I get off work, I can go cut some grass, I can go do some side work but when it stops, is when it's like, okay, what do I do today? And you kind of in this lost space. I know I have to start having a schedule. And if it's just meeting Kais today, I know that's part of my schedule for that day. So I'm not just blank.
yeah, and that's fine to have a plan, even if it's a self-care plan. I'm going to do these 3 things for myself, and I'm going to do them each for 40. That's beautiful.
And
it doesn't
if
have to be to-do lists.
Right. It's not necessarily to do. It's just, hey.
To live.
To live. So, hey, when you're getting off work, go meet so-and-so for breakfast and then go to the
Fabulous.
gym. But I know I have to actually do that. So you're asking me, no, I'm not doing good at putting that because I've been busy right now. Time has been occupied because of the
Life.
great weather, life.
And some of these things, if you really work on them, you can incorporate them into what you're already doing. Little things like the breathing and the mindfulness and the awareness and the resetting, you can do that in your car. You can do that sitting with your kids. Like, you can learn to make this type of plan part of your life, too. It doesn't have to take up a lot of space. It's almost a mindset. And it should be non-negotiable.
Right. And one
Otherwise,
of
they're taking your castle down.
yes. And for me, the biggest, I'm telling you, the biggest, being by myself. Being in that space of...
So you need to fill that space with
I need
your
to
plan.
fill the space with my plan, which
Yes, there it
I
is.
know I have to. That's... And one of the things that I'm going to back up a hair.
Please.
Just to help anybody that if they're listening, and this is going to jump back to, I probably should have mentioned this earlier. One of the things that Corinne and the COE both came up with was, yes, all the PTSD and the stress and anxiety from calls and going on calls. But there was that little boy, and I forgot to mention this earlier. That little boy who experienced what he perceived as trauma with his parents, probably back then came up with some way to feel insecure, to feel anxiety. So one of the things I have to remind myself is that I'm a grown adult, and to tell that little boy, you're okay. So that is one of the
That's beautiful.
practices.
It's like inner child work a little bit.
But ironically, they both came up with that, and they never met each other. Meaning Corinne and the COE had nothing to do with each other. But they both did come up with that, to remind that kid who was fearful and anxiety-ridden that it's okay now. Right. So that is one of my pieces I do work on.
I love it. Do you do it just by manifesting or journaling?
Just manifesting. It just comes and it's like, hey, as silly as this sounds, because
it's wonderful.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So that's one of my bigger goals, is to try to work on just little things by myself.
And if you were talking to that little boy, you would offer him things. You would give him ways to make him feel better. You would take him to get an ice cream. You'd put your hand around him. You would hug him. So you should do that to yourself as an adult too, because that's what you want to do.
Yes,
for him.
And that's what we've talked about. Is my present day me would take care of Kais in a heartbeat, and I know you know that.
Absolutely.
So how do I take care of me? But how do I reverse that to that little person to say it's okay and help kind of erase or settle or calm, whatever you want to say, the past. And
give yourself the grace to allow yourself these things. You may have these things, and you're showing beautiful insight. You've shared so many things with the insight. Now the next jump is just giving yourself the grace that I can do these things. I deserve them, and they'll make me a more balanced parent, husband, friend, colleague, everything. I hear it all the time. Time and time. Yeah, you do. Totally do.
So that is definitely hearing the word grace again, which is something we constantly mention when I was gone. It's one of those things to work on. And I think that's one of the hardest things too. Leaving that setting and coming back here, people like you, people like Corinne, it's great. But boy, to be somewhere 7 days a week with people that relate to you, clinicians that only relate to you.
It's beautiful.
It is intense. It is like...
It's immersive.
It's
the
immersive.
Brain was probably
it's like
happy there.
4 years of 1 hour a week kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was with people I became friends with.
And you make me think that we need a bit of a hybrid. So there needs to be something where maybe you do a support group once a week, or you go to a virtual setting. I don't know if that's there, but that would be a nice step down for you. So
there is a virtual setting from people from the COE. You have to be. You can't be an outsider. So that's one of the big things with
Meaning
that.
you have to be a firefighter.
You had to go to the COE.
Okay.
So,
I think that's fair, because you need something to go from. You just said I went from all to nothing. That's a hell of a transition.
Pretty much. And
I mean, Corinne isn't nothing, but it's 1 hour.
No, but it's 1 hour, and she'd give me some more time. But it's not that immersive.
You're not mowing the lawn.
Right.
You are sitting in your mental health world.
Correct.
Oh, great.
So, you just leave there and it's like, boom, back to life. Dropped you off at the airport.
Right. So that's the only thing they haven't figured out. You basically went from residential without PHP and IOP, and you went right back into regular
I did
care.
PHP and IHP, but...
Oh, you did? Through that program? They stepped you down?
Yeah, so they do step you down.
Oh, my bad. I didn't realize that.
No. Okay. So they do step you down, but... So then I went... If I would have stayed another week or two, I would have had like 2 hours a day. But
so
I didn't stay for
that.
But it is set up for that.
Okay.
But you don't go anywhere. You just have the freedom to be there. Like, this place is in the middle of nowhere. It's not like it's here.
You don't go back to work and then meet for 2 hours in your virtual. So it is you're still immersed.
You're still immersed in it.
Great
So
point.
a lot of the guys you'd see them jogging. They would be just doing or they would just come to class because they're like, I got nothing to do. I'm just going to come to this class because I like this clinician.
Right.
So, see
How
some...
nice that is then.
Yes. So you'd pop in and out. But on Sundays, I did have a couple weeks where we went to pet horses.
Mm-hmm.
And
hippotherapy.
Yes.
Huge. Equine therapy.
And then they would take us back to the city, and we would go to like Five Guys or Jersey Mike's, and that was your outing.
I love that.
To see the real world, and you're like, Ooh, that was a lot. Because once you go, it's
Once
really
you go
weird.
in, you don't want to come out.
Well, no, it's kind of like, I kind of like that setting back there. It's kind of calm and, so.
Right. That's why, and it's set up that way. You made me think when you said of the equine therapy, the horse therapy is, I interviewed someone who does that mixed with EMDR.
Really?
So you actually use the horses as part of sort of the tapping or of the back and forth of the
Following.
brain. Yeah. Can you imagine putting those two together? Oh, see, we're still brainstorming because what we talked about is you're not done yet.
No, I'm far from done. And there's
You know
a whole
what?
bunch of me out there. And people like you, Corinne, the COE Center, there's a huge need. There's a huge need.
Yes.
And I say it for police, for fire, people, especially I would say ER, where it's the same thing. We're just
First
dumping on them and they're
responders.
just getting a beating. Those nurses, those doctors, the medical assistants there.
They see the graphics like
They
you
see the
do.
graphics
They are
and-
right in it, except they get the real stuff.
They
They're
get
not getting
right.
the cat in the tree, but they are getting, wow.
They get a little preparation if we're calling in
Yeah.
because we get to tell them and give them what we're seeing.
And we all need this, but our
Yes.
first responders, because of the PTSD, because of what you do, because it's not predictable, it falls under the trauma
well,
categories.
and the reason is our sleep deprivation.
Oh, great point. I didn't even think of that.
And it's, again, one of those things I forgot about. So
There we
police
go.
have their shifts that change and move all over. The ER is open 24 hours. We're there for 24 hours. And, you guys just sleep. Yeah, we do. We set the alarm, and I go to bed at 7 p.m., and I don't wake up till 7 a.m. because no one's allowed to call. No, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
You're always in that heightened thing. You're always ready for the tones to go off. And
Right. It's not that true relaxation.
it's not true relaxation.
Oh, I love that you brought that up because the science proves that sleep deprivation changes your
huge.
cortisol levels.
Huge, big time.
But you could, if you know it's coming and you know you're in this line of work, you can do stuff preventively. And no one taught you that in the
No.
beginning. If we could teach people starting off the prevention,
Correct.
we could stop it from being so explosive. That would be beautiful.
My biggest thing, honestly, I've told a lot of the young guys, don't work on your days off.
Beautiful.
And they're like, why? I go.
You mean like moonlight or just go relax?
Go kayak, go ride that bike, go camp, go woodworking. We all work. We all clean gutters, wash windows, cut grass, whatever it may be. Go do something other than worrying about, I got to work.
With no agenda that's
Correct.
just for you. That is
Correct.
true self-care.
That-
And it gives you the grace to grow well as well.
Correct.
That's it.
And
Yeah, mowing the lawn is maybe relaxing, but it has an agenda. You're mowing the lawn.
you're mowing the lawn.
It's
Now,
still
if
a
it's your
to-do
own and you get done doing your own house and you're like, oh, I feel so accomplished, a little bit. But like for me, I go cut grass.
Oh yeah, it's your side. It's your side hustle.
It's my side
Yeah.
hustle. So the side hustle is the one that I'm like, do something. Don't rely on
Good.
that. Don't make that part of your purpose.
Yeah.
Because
Because you're just keeping your brain busy.
You're keeping
or
your brain
working towards
busy.
more money or whatever, but you're losing track of you're living your life on those other days.
Correct.
And also because your job is so intense, you have to balance somewhere. I would think you have to go, if the meter is 90 when you're there, you got to go to a 20 so you get back to a 50. I mean, you would have to. And you're saying if you go do all this other stuff, you're not balancing out before you show back up at work.
well, here I got off this morning. I came right to you,
Yeah.
and I would no, but again,
Isn't this self-care, Kevin?
this is
And you told me, you said I might as well keep rolling.
well. That's why. So my thing was, well, you asked me the time. I go, might as well meet now.
Yeah.
I'm getting off work, and then
But then you're going to shut the door on your job, I hope, and practice what you preach and spend your weekend doing something. I'm going to drive by your house and you're going to be laying in the sun listening to a podcast.
I'm going to get off and figure out what we're serving at tailgating tonight.
Oh, but that's
So
fun.
that's a fun
social.
thing.
That's
It's a social, so that's a fun thing.
But some days you might find I can't do that. I need to be not doing that. And these are the boundaries you talked about before.
But the boundaries, and please, if anyone's listening, isolation is not boundaries. When you find yourself isolating, that's the bad way. So the isolation side is not self-care. Sleeping all day is not self-care.
I'm writing this down.
That is the bad side of the depression, anxiety, PTSD, the bad side of mental health.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself isolating, you have to reach out. Please reach out to anyone.
And if you don't know the difference, because I think when you're up in this foggy, staticky brain, you don't always know. Ask somebody.
Ask.
Am I taking a break because I deserve an hour in my room, or am I hiding from the world and no one sees me? And yeah, because sometimes the people will give me an excuse. No, it's okay to do it. And ask, just like you said, talk to people.
Ask, because the isolation is definitely
Oh, it's the worst.
And you'll know. I think you'll know.
Deep down inside, you'll know.
Deep down and
won't
know.
you?
You'll know when that isolation is really hitting you hard.
Yeah.
And you don't want to go anywhere. You don't want to do anything.
You got to kind of force it a little bit.
You got to force it.
That's your basic pillar. I noticed one of your pillars, you were showing me your list in social. Be around humans. Whoever those humans are. Do not sit alone in your space, except when you're meditating and trying to be okay with yourself.
Yes.
But that's like 20, 30 minutes. That's not all night, every night. That's a great one. I love that. Isolation is not boundary.
And I will add to the podcast, through contacting you, I give you 100% permission. If anyone wants to talk to me in our field, I will absolutely 100%. They can reach out. You can reach out on their behalf. I 100% will talk to them, meet them for coffee or whatever, just if they're want to know more, or they're just, hey, I have these feelings, blah, 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 and try to help guide them back to someone like you or anyone, but that they're not alone. And that's the hard thing, is you think you're alone. You think everyone else is perfect out there, and
you don't know what's going on.
You don't know what's going on. I have a
You do.
I do. I have a smile on my face all the time, and my head is going 20 million different directions other than what you actually think.
I had no idea until we bumped into each other and you started sharing, and I went, oh, I had no idea that was your story. Peer support's huge right now. It's basically what sponsorship is in AA. And you're kind of talking about that. It's this lived experience where it's not a clinician like me who has to follow clinical rules and therapeutic rules, and I have to have boundaries. This person and you just kick it and talk about what you've experienced together.
Yes.
And you may not be titled that way, but it's the same idea. And I think you have to have the experience to be able to share that. Like a Corinne or a me, we can go so far, but you need someone like you, like what you met at the OCE or the OEC or whatever.
COE.
COE, the CEO.
The Center of Excellence.
Center of Excellence. Those are all people to get it. And there's something beautiful about that. So I appreciate your openness with that.
Yeah, I don't, and it doesn't have to be specific to first responder. If someone just, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. The mental health journey.
It's a mental health journey that I have some younger family members that are in the medical field now, and I really talk to them a lot about making sure they're staying on top of it. And
all of us. We all have different emotional thresholds.
And even my wife, 18 years of labor and delivery. Even, we talk about the ER all the time, but there's places all over the hospital that, we think labor and delivery is this beautiful pink and
not always,
blue. It's not always. There's a lot of things that traumatize there. As my eyes twitching.
Well, and did you just give me the finger?
Yes.
That's a Seinfeld episode where he's like, I think you charged me wrong. And he gives her the finger. I love it. See, that's the unspoken. It's the nonverbal cues.
Right.
I love it. So everybody needs to learn how to gauge where they're at, give themselves the grace, get help, recognize their boundaries, and also know where you're at. You are someone, if someone's at one time in your life would have said, you have a really big vault of emotion and it's going to make you beautiful and wonderful, but also very vulnerable, you might have been able to prepare for the world, and you didn't know that.
I didn't.
So someone else's experience might be different from yours.
They might not have the emotion. I have outward emotion. It comes out.
Yeah, and it's not wrong.
It's not wrong.
You're human.
Just doesn't...
You're supposed to have emotion. But the problem is if it takes you down a rabbit hole and it's so big that it overcomes you, you have to figure out how to make sure you're not responding to your emotional brain, but there's also a logic brain in there.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And that's the hard piece.
Yeah.
You're trying to regulate and trying to stay on an even keel and, okay, that's here. How do I handle it? And then it just keeps going.
Right. Are these valid emotions? They're real.
Right.
Are they valid? Should I really be feeling this way at this moment? Why am I feeling this way? So it's being able to realize I'm feeling this way because something happened 10 years ago. And that's where your regulation and that part of the journey comes in.
Because there was a couple good statements that were, if I'm trying to reach for my big binder again.
Get back in that binder. It's like a 200-page binder. And I've seen a lot of treatment binders, but yours is uniquely large. And it's muddled over with all your meds. I'm watching you digging it. It's awesome. You came more prepared than I did.
There's a couple of statements that kind of hit home with me when I was there.
Okay. Would you share those? Because does this kind of fall into, we were talking about what is maybe some advice. You've given us a ton of advice, but maybe there's a couple other succinct ideas.
It's just a couple of statements that were when I was first there. One of them is face your fears or they will forever hold you back.
It's true. Because fear is a state of mind and also a state of body.
Correct. This one I liked. It was up on a wall. Someone had written it and left it there. You can't change the direction of the wind, but if you change your sails to capture the wind, you can continue to move forward. So I can't change necessarily what's going on in my mind. I have to redirect it so I can move forward. But if I let it just stay in that place, I'm going to stay in that place. And I don't want to be in that place. So those were a couple.
That's beautiful. That's you tolerating, riding the wave, recognizing and accepting what's happening, but also not just giving into it.
Correct.
Like, I'm going to get on in that wave and I'm going to make it work for me.
Yes, and that was something I would see that every day when I was in the one room.
I love that.
And I thought I had another one. Sorry.
You don't have to be sorry. Do you have these written somewhere for yourself, like where they're highly accessible? It sounds like that would be a great way to start your day with that saying, because it's a beautiful saying.
Yes, I was supposed to do some things with those.
Is this part of the anxiety plan we're talking about?
Sure, absolutely.
You're going to send me a written version of it later. Guys, these are the 7 things I'm going to do over the weekend.
Well, here's another one. Your perspective can be your prison or your peace. And it's the same thing of where do I let my mind, where is my mind going, but how do I understand and use my resiliency and my pillars, give myself grace, all the key words that I know, but I have to actually practice what I'm preaching.
And practice being able to orchestrate your own brain. You're not a victim of it. You just haven't figured out how to tell it what to do when you want it to do it. And it's doing its own little
But I can
jive
tell
over
everyone
there.
else.
Well, yeah, our own brains are very strong. You're very strong-willed, intelligent, bright human. That brain is tough.
And I will do for everyone else. I will always do for everyone else, but I don't do for me. And that has been something that's been repeated over and over to me. What have you done for you? I always want to do for someone, because that's how I occupy time, because I don't know how to do for me.
And that's why you haven't yet put in a set plan, because I think you still haven't given yourself the grace that it's okay for me to do this and take the time and do. And so you're getting there, though, because you're recognizing it.
Yes.
You know, many people walk around and don't even recognize it. You're working on it, you're recognizing it, and you're putting action steps in. And it's not supposed to happen overnight. You're in step 3 of the AA program. You know, you're like so close. But those are the hardest. That 1 through 3, right? The knowing, the openness, the willingness, the acceptance, and then you start to do all that work.
Yes.
I love your perspective quote. Your mask that you brought in. You said it was black. I just saw the lightning bolts. And to me, those were powerful and showing that there's something breaking. Like, it's all how you look at it.
See, that was, I did, okay.
Yeah,
I'll
like
take that
something
little
was
piece.
crushing through that, like a powerful little Thor thing. It's, I got it. I'm breaking the black. And it's just how you look at it.
It was just, and I remember saying it was the pain within and where I want to be. Mm-hmm. The peaceful place of my mind is quiet. It's not always going.
Yeah. Or if it's going, how do you look at it differently?
How do I look at it and change that perspective?
How do you ride along and go, woohoo, as opposed to, I hate you. You know, even if you can't slow it down, you can change how you ride with it. We have so much power on our brains. We just aren't trained in our culture and certainly in our childhoods how to do this.
Correct.
It's hard to learn it as an adult, but you can.
After many, many years, yes.
You've already started. I can tell you've already started. This isn't all brand new. You've been already getting in there and looking around. You're tweaking things. You're not passive in this at all.
No, just got to keep going at it.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about your story right now. You're not saying, I got it all figured out, everybody. Here's what you do.
Hell no.
You're like, here's where I'm at. Here's what works for me. Here's what could work. Here's what we should do. And I think the themes coming out of it are talk to people, get a lot of help, be open about it, and give yourself
and more
grace.
God, I would love to see more specific centered places. You know, some is just going to be general population because the general population is just that, but like,
yeah, you mean for different professions, different people,
different professions,
yeah,
whatever they may be.
How do you do that in your line of work? How can you be the one to advocate to see if more of these things happen? Is there like a union or a way that you can
So
start
the
to
international, well, that's the International Association of Firefighters, which is literally national and worldwide. They're the ones who put together the center, and it took a long time. And
the one that does the COE.
The COE, the Center of Excellence. So that's why they're opening the other one in California. Because
so they
the
already
demand
see it.
is there. Oh, yeah, they already bought it. It's being renovated. It was an old resort.
Have you been able to voice your experience there? Is there a way to do feedback or to share with them?
They
that, hey,
do
this is
send
what it
things
is?
out.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of when you get it, if you get selected. I mean, you could call up there and, you know, I could
Your
talk to
feedback should matter.
I could talk to my union reps and my local state. And I mean, they'll listen. I can write a letter for anything of good, bad, indifferent.
Because people want to know that it helped, and then they're like, "Oh, this is someone back in our community who's again a viable member of our
Right.
profession."
And definitely they need more. They're opening a second one. I could see multiple where you could maybe not have to be a resident, where it could be more of a
I
daytime
love
thing.
that.
So
Yes,
if it
a
was
day program or a weekend program,
a weekend program,
retreat.
Correct.
Because everyone needs a different level. You needed to get the frick away for 30
Yes.
days. But maybe someone just needs 2 days to just quit the noise or something.
Quit
or
the
look
noise,
at their meds.
or look at their meds, or just, where you can still go home and sleep. You can still be with your family,
Yeah.
but during the day, again,
there.
but with people that are like-minded. Because the tough thing is, if I went with someone who had a trauma in their personal life, but I start talking about the fire. That's where police, fire. You're going to go to
The same language.
The same language
That
is
makes
huge.
sense. Because I think about if people can't find the locations you're mentioning, we do have groups and other mental health, but it isn't just. It might not be all the language that you.
And I
get
walk
here.
in and I hear different stuff, and I'd be like, okay, this is not for me. This is not my
Happy.
people.
Okay. So this was a nice way for you to heal with your people, with what you've known for
Yes.
30 years. And there's so many of you out there that these facilities seem they should be out there.
They should be out there.
More.
There
And
should
different
be more.
levels of it.
Yeah.
Even support groups. We should have weekly support groups where people get together and just process how tough it is.
Yes.
A virtual hour, like that to me seems like a given. It might be there. I'm not, maybe it already is, but if
So
it isn't,
there is one through the COE
There
that we
is,
started
okay.
talking about that. They call it the fire pit. So the fire pit at the COE at night was off hours, and that was really an AA meeting for a lot of the people.
Okay.
So there was a fire ring there, and we'd burn every night. And you could go down there if you wanted, didn't have to.
Is it open to people not at the COE though?
No.
Okay, so to
So
make
that is
kind
a-
of dynamic,
It is, it is because now they do the virtual one, so you could join anytime. Like they'll put it out in a group, but again, you have to be invited.
You have to
Because
be part of it.
it's very. If you just started to open up to people, it becomes
I understand. It has to be a little bit insular,
right.
and it's again. I think of AA with this: is you go away to treatment, you go to Hazleton for 30 days, but then you stay in your 12-step weekly meetings.
Correct.
And so it's trying to keep this flow now that you're back home,
Right.
Which you did for a little bit, but it sounds like you could. For you, it might have been
the
nice.
fire pit isn't as much for me.
No,
it just,
okay.
I didn't really dig it when I was there.
Oh, so it's not your. It doesn't work.
It just
for you.
wasn't. I
Yeah.
love fires, but it just wasn't my piece.
Yeah. So you would maybe there might be other options for different people of what's your weekly check-in is what I'm getting at. How do you
Correct.
keep what you started and still have a way to make sure you're
And
you're
it's just
staying tuned
texting there's a handful of, so I have like 3 different groups
Yeah.
from there that I text with, hey guys, what's going on? Hey, good. And there's
Good.
some Facebook postings. Again, you have to be invited.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't see it.
But I would
somebody will
need
put out
to.
there,
It needs to
hey,
be
I'm
for you.
struggling, and everybody responds.
Okay, I love that. So it is there. There
There
are
are
these
some
programs.
people's, but again, something in person certainly.
It's nice when possible, or a home group where it's your people in your home. Maybe it's the Ohio Firefighters support group or something. But the idea is this is happening.
It is
People knew
happening.
it needed to happen. It
Yes.
sounds fairly new, and it's growing. And
It's
you're
growing.
saying let it grow more.
It needs to grow more.
I love it. Do you have a word to describe? We've been talking forever. I don't know how you're going to do this, but is there a word or a few words that describes your recovery journey and where you're at?
One word.
Well, it could be like
No, that's
hyphenated
what-
words.
right, that's-
It could be two. The idea is what's your quick and dirty sort of word or two that describes this journey for you, which is still here as it should be.
I don't know if I could have one.
That's okay. I give you the grace to have more than one.
Okay. Scary and challenging.
Scary and challenging, both of which don't have to be bad if we shift our perspective.
Correct.
Because I love a haunted house and it's scary,
I used
and
to
I
like
love
them.
a challenge.
See, I used to like them, and now I'm just kind of done with them.
I wouldn't go into them right now for you. That's a lot of jump scare. Maybe
It was
not.
just, I'm like kind of over it. I'm like, yeah, I see that. I can go see that just on a call.
right, exactly.
So I don't really need to come here.
But you just said at the very beginning of this, I ride out not PTSD, sorry, a fight or flight. I dig
It's
it.
different.
So scary and challenging is kind of who you are in a way. Even though this is in the other direction, I guess I'm positivating this, that those words could have a lot of different meanings.
Changing my perspective.
Because I know when you said it, I don't think you were thinking what I was, but I wanted to change your perspective a little bit.
And again, those I know are probably 2 more on the negative side,
They don't have to be.
and they don't have
Challenging does not have to be negative. Because that's where we get our dopamine. That's where we grow, because we learn and develop.
to be. So the challenging side is, it's another day. I gotta, where I should be. Hey, this is challenging, and I'm going to be.
go.
Let's go get it.
Go.
So again, that's just
What you described, you felt like when you go into like a real setting, you're like, let's go, we're
Yes.
on it. Why can't you have that with this, right? That same idea. And it is scary because you don't know what's coming. But when you
even
learn
that-
to ride that wave,
Even that challenging, I'll do for other people.
of course
And
you
I'll
will.
challenge and I'll work and I'll do. And then when it comes to my own home or doing stuff by myself,
The self-love in there, learning to give yourself
self-love.
the grace. That's the grace we keep talking about.
and it's
You said, what's the core and origin of all of this? And it is allowing that little kid to get that, whatever he felt he might lose. Not that he did lose it, but that he could have. And giving yourself that love and trust.
so it's a big, big work that I'm struggling to find.
Yeah. But you're in it.
I'm in it.
You're in it. You're in it.
And I can't.
And you will get progress because you're in it.
So I just have to keep, but it would be great if this big binder had a group that would meet, or you could do a retreat once a year just to go back and meet with each other. A booster shot. How
really.
neat would that be? Just to be like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm going away for 5 days and it's my group that I was there at that time. So you're not meeting new people. So it doesn't have, but all of a sudden you get there and like, oh, wow. Hey, awesome. Let's talk about some of these things and make sure everybody's.
Maybe that's something to put some of that space in where you feel lost, is trying to connect these dots. Maybe you're the one that creates it. And we have a location and we meet once a year for people who can show up. I mean, that's how you front that kind of energy into a creative space that's good for you and self-care too. So I just gave you a
Maybe.
job. Sorry, I just gave you another to-do list item, but it's a good one.
Oh, that's a good one.
Isn't it a good one? Why can't it happen? You have
could
access
go around
to
the
these
country.
people. You could do whatever you want. You could travel. See that? You could go do yoga. We were talking about you're doing yoga for one of your self-soothing tools. You guys could do
Oh,
restorative
yeah.
yoga.
Me and my.
Yoga has nothing to do with that. Yoga's in your head. You went
No,
to
I
the
know.
body. Yoga's in your head. That's why I said you better be doing restorative and not whatever the other
Yes.
stuff is. Well, I think we have uncovered a ton. I told you we'd be done in an hour. I lied.
What did we take?
I have no idea, but it's not an hour.
So
but
maybe-
the story needed to be more than an hour.
So maybe we edit this one and do another one.
We might have to. Maybe what we do is we come back to the table after you've put things in place, you're unraveling your story. Maybe I talk to Corinne and we see as your journey unfolds. I'd love to talk to you again and see what you have to show as you're still on the journey.
Sure.
Maybe you get to a place where you really are that kind of peer supporter who has the voice of knowing what it's like to look back and it's not black anymore. Because you're not quite there yet. And boy, that's a cool ass place to be.
In the black?
No. Looking back on it and going, oh, I remember that.
No, yes,
when you,
I know.
When you
I
move
was
the
teasing.
curtain and you're like, oh, they
remember
told
being
me it
there.
was like this on this side, and it really is. So I think we should follow again and
Okay.
come back and have another
Absolutely.
talk. Well, I appreciate your time, your openness, your willingness, and your book bag full of treats to share.
Of Skittles.
Well, we'll try to avoid a Skittle snack later.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for exploring hope today on the Mental Health and Eating Disorder podcast. I hope you join me again or find more support. And thanks for listening to the Mental Health Spotlight podcast, helping you hold hope on your recovery path.